Oh shit! Hold on. What it do? What it do?
What up? What up? What up, though?
What's up, man? Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in to the Who Am I podcast. These are your hosts. You know, Kevin Wren. You know, your boy King over there. Man, all right. What's good with you?
Chilling, man. Chilling. You know, just black and beautiful. You know,
you got all right. I see you.
We got the
same vibe. You got the nip back behind you.
Yeah, you know, I
got the nip shirt on me.
Same hair, marathon.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? Continues.
So you got more money than me. You bought the sweater. I bought the tee.
The sweater?
The sweater.
The best time to wear a black sweater. It's all the time.
Don't sleep though. I bought the jersey. Don't sleep though.
Boy, see now you got more money than me. Them things. I saw that price tag. I said, you know what?
Them shits were very expensive. Very expensive.
What? I'll wait till it go on sale.
You right. I probably could have. But what if they don't?
Well, you know what?
Then I'm be here drinking this here hen dog.
You know what? Rest in peace and Nip forever. You know what I'm talking about? I support everything.
For real. All right, so shit, we can hop straight into it.
Right. So you got any new music or?
I got a couple. I got 2 singles and technically a new album.
Nah, I got the same thing.
Okay, let's do singles. We probably got the same. Movie Hips. Are you gonna talk about Movie Hips?
No, that's all you, brother.
All right, shit. Well, shit, I got to. So Movie Hips, ASAP Ferg, Nicki Minaj, Made in Tokyo. It's a new jam, bro. I actually really like it. I don't really there was a little bit of a rollout that was kind of weird to me. Just because there was the Nicki Minaj stuff and she had drama with her hairstylist and things of that nature, which kind of rolled into this rollout. Which isn't bad. By any means, I'm just saying that kind of rolled into it. There was a part where everybody from the bar was not really attacking, but going to A$AP Ferg like, yo, release it. It eventually got released. It is a good song. The only issue is with all of these songs that seems like they're for the summer, it just doesn't really feel like the summer because of coronavirus. Yeah. So I do like this song, and I think that if we were out, it might perform a little bit better on the charts. Since we're kind of half in, half out, which we have been for a few months, it seemed like it may do well, it may not. I'm not sure right now at this point. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. Move Your Hips, featuring Nicki Minaj, Made in Tokyo, and A$AP Ferg.
You think did you care at all that Nicki Minaj collaborated with 6ix9ine when you listened to that, or was it just like that's still Nicki?
No, I didn't care because I don't know. It depends on where you weigh Nicki Minaj at. Do you weigh her on the street level? Do you weigh her as she went pop a long time ago. That time it kind of showed me where she was at when she went pop. Like that's just where she is. That's where she at. That's where she ran. She's going to be the best of whatever she do. So I don't really take this as a knock. Now, if somebody like we talked about, somebody Jay-Z, if somebody like Jeezy, if somebody like Griselda, like was to match up with Tekashi 6ix9ine, I would think of it a little bit differently, right? Because I know where they stand. So, gotcha. But Nicki Minaj, nah, she do what she do. She do what she do. What about you though?
I don't care. I'm not. I've been off Nicki for a long time. You know what I'm talking about? It's Team Meek over here, so you know what I mean. She the ops.
Oh,
so, you know what I'm saying?
I know it went this deep. You know what I'm saying? Meek been big with the NBA lately.
All right, so my 2 singles. No, it was fire. That he did that.
That shit was fire. I don't know. I'm about to say that shit was fire.
I thought you was gonna talk about his other stuff, but
he was rolling out with the NBA. He did a good job with it. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard this Meek spiel before, you know what I'm saying? So
several times.
Yeah.
Several times.
Yeah. Well, I got 2 singles, both from the same people, Future and Lil Uzi. They dropped a 2-pack, one song called Paddock, one is called Over Your Head. And it's dope because Lil Uzi refers to himself as Baby Pluto, and then Future, he used to refer to himself as Pluto. So to see them kind of link up and put these 2 tracks out is dope. definitely can see the influence of Future. And I think this kind of reminded me how influential Future is. I think as Future career goes on and as he hits away from that hot run that he had, you kind of forget how big that run is, how on fire Future was. And I think that for him to have such the impact on artists like a Young Thug, when he did a tape with Juice WRLD, who he did a tape with, and now Lil Uzi, who he dropped a 2-pack with, it just shows you how influential Future is to this newest generation, along with people like Lil Wayne. But Paddock and Over Your Head from Future and Lil Uzi Vert, dope 2 songs if you like that type of music. And shout out to Future for holding it down.
So, my next one is Georgia Smith, By Any Means. It's again another R&B song, another thing that we've been loving this whole entire year. So I would recommend you listen to it. It's, to me, it's good. It's not like something that's like amazing. It didn't blow me away or anything like that, but it did give me enough to be interested in her next project. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. It, as far as for me to bring it to the podcast, I feel like it's enough for me to say, hey, listen to this, and then you may be interested into her next project. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. So that's Georgia Smith and By Any Means.
So I like that first, John. So check that one out. My album is Benny the Butcher and DJ Drama presents Black Soprano Family from the Black Soprano Family. I kind of hit on this a couple weeks ago when I talked about his Benny the Butcher's Deal or No Deal freestyle. Unfortunately, that wasn't on a project, but it's a lot of good songs on there. I think I kept 5 of the 8 total, so it's a good a good mix of songs on there with not just Benny, but all his artists. And Benny definitely showed out on all the songs that he was featured on. He had the intro called Quarantine, where he was just barring them up. And then the 2 songs that came out earlier before this project released, The Mob and It's Over, he kind of showed out. But it's just dope to see him step into that bag of a Westside Gunn who kind of does that with Griselda. And I didn't know this, but he's not actually signed with Griselda under Shady. And then when people was talking to him about it, like, why didn't you do that? He kind of mentioned, like, Westside kind of pulled him to the side and let him know, like, hey, you can do what I'm doing just with your own people, and you can put yourself in a position to be that boss. And with him doing this with his Black Soprano Family, it's just showing you the game that he got from Westside Gunn and him playing that role of just setting up his people for success. So I think it's dope strategically. It's dope music. But Benny the Butcher and DJ Drama presents the Black Soprano Family. It's a dope project.
Nice. Let's see what I got. I got one more, which is, you're going to have to correct me. You're going to have to correct me. But Toby, say it for me. Toby, what is it?
Nwigwe.
Nwigwe. Okay, I want to make sure I had it right. So Toby Nwigwe, I said it wrong again, didn't I?
No, that's good.
Okay, I'm gonna stop saying it. Yeah, we good. We got the point, but we got the point. Because I'm gonna say it wrong every time. The Pandemic Project. So this is basically the album of all the songs you've heard in the last several weeks. So that includes "I Need You" by that's kind of pretty much a song to Breonna Taylor. That includes "Try Jesus." Anything that you think of that he's dropped in the last several weeks. We've seen a lot of his stuff go viral here within the last 6 or 7 weeks. So this is just his collaboration, which is called the Pandemic Project. I really enjoy it. It's kind of an EP. It's very short, but it's something that I would at least support this, because this is the type of stuff that we need to be hearing more often. Like, I don't know who he's signed to. I'm imagining that he's probably solo,
independent.
He's probably independent. So this is the type of stuff we need to go ahead and produce and hope to stand behind as far as the industry goes. So that's the Pandemic Project. Toby Nwigwe. Saying that right?
Yeah, so it's dope. I've been following Toby for like the past couple of years, and every Sunday he puts out a new song and a new video. So like every single week, kind of like the Russ formula, you're going to hear a new Toby Nwigwe song and a video, and then after a while he kind of puts them all together and then releases them as an album. So it's dope that he did that. And then the last song, or quote unquote song, of each one is just him talking to his family, and it's just like them busting it up. So him talking to his wife, him talking to his producer, him talking to his brothers, his cousins, and just, you could just listen to that. It's kind of like listening to a podcast and an album. So it's pretty dope.
For sure.
So you're not gonna talk about the Lion King, the gift?
I mean, we already got a whole pretty much topic about it. So, I mean, let's get. Is that all you got left? Because we can get into it right now.
No, that's all I got.
Okay, so yeah, let's lead into it right now. So we'll talk about the Beyonce project, Black is King, which is basically the Lion King project with a deluxe version on it. So, let's go ahead and start with our views on it as far as the whole project itself was an hour and 25 minutes. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Mine is pretty short. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought that it was great. The visuals in itself was great. I don't know if it was completely choreography was completely made by Beyonce, but I know she had a lot to do with it. And it was amazing. It was amazing. We was just talking about it a little bit before we started, and we both agreed that everything before this part was really good, but everything after they got to like the mansion and it was Jay-Z and Beyonce pulling up as kids kind of in the leopard print like Bentley, and they put up to the crib and they was walking around the leopard print. They at the end of it they was kind of just eating on some cheap like family trays, some cheap meals with the little bitty TV. Like everything within that part was amazing, including Jay-Z verse and Beyonce verse, and then everything going forward from that just seemed like it was great. Before that, again, I'm not a huge I don't want to say I'm not huge. I fucking love Beyonce, but I wouldn't consider myself part of Beehive or anything crazy like that. So the first 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'll probably watch this in doses because, I'm just not really about watching this whole thing. Like I never really watched like the whole Lemonade or anything like that. So after about 20 minutes in, when that part actually came, and I was like, okay, now I'm glued. Now I want to see what the rest is going on because all of this stuff is amazing to watch. It's just a beautiful like rendition of everything that was happening within the music, within the song, and it's to make it like kind of blend with African cultures. It seems so beautiful at the way they did it. So I really appreciated it. So that's kind of my take on it. King, what you got?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I always tell people the original Lion King was my favorite movie of all time. I think still is. And the fact that it got remade, I kind of slept on Beyonce's contribution to it. So she did release the album, Lion King, The Gift, with the actual movie. And then now it is just kind of like a visual representation of that album. So all of the songs in this movie on Disney Plus, Black is King, come from that album that she released with the movie. And then this week she kind of released a more condensed version of it to kind of just give you just the music. So kind of like what you were saying, I really don't follow Beyonce's music. Like ever since I want to say like Drunk in Love, that was probably when I stopped paying attention to Beyonce's music. And kind of like I was saying with Kanye before, like it comes to a point where you outgrow music. Like you mean more to the culture than just an artist. Like I really respect what Beyonce brings, what she does with her visuals. I believe like what she did at the Super Bowl with Formation, during the time of Kaepernick when he was first being blackballed. I think that was powerful. And I think that's who Beyonce is. She's way more than a musician to me. So when she drops albums, I kind of sleep on them. But watching this visualization, I was just hooked on how good the music actually was. A couple of songs I probably will revisit. I had to look up the album like, yo, this one is kind of fire. Like, yo, that work. And I just think that is such a dope message because I was looking into why I liked Lion King so much back in the day. Because I was kind of like, it was kind of disturbing how much I loved that movie as a kid's movie. But the Lion King really has roots to Egyptian mythology when we talk about the stories being told in Lion King. That's why if you watch the Black Panther, it's kind of the same story and it's done in Africa because they're pulling from that same mythology of the Egyptians back in the day. So it's really tied into African roots when we talk about the story of the Lion King, when we talk about the story of Black Panther. So for her to take that messaging and add on to it with the Black is King visualization and give that music and give those visualizations. Mm-hmm. Fuck, I'm just all over the place, right?
No, I do the same thing.
To take that and take it to Africa and give that music the and kind of center the Lion King story around Africa and Africans and kind of put real people to it, I think just added more context, added more beauty to it. I just think visually it just looks amazing. The songs are great and it's just a great project. I appreciate it.
For sure. So it's not that everybody that was either for it or against it, but we did have some people that with a little bit of criticism of it. One, namely, is No Name. She had a tweet, and I'll read right now. We love African aesthetic draped in capitalism. Hope remember that Black folks on the continent whose daily lives are impacted by U.S. imperialism. If we can uplift the imagery, I hope we can uplift those who will never be able to access it. Black liberation is a global struggle. So those are some powerful words from No Name. We know No Name from, if you don't know No Name from everything that was happening before, at least you probably know her name. You probably know No Name from the whole J. Cole, Chance the Rapper, No Name kind of beef that kind of went on for a little bit. J. Cole actually released a song kind of coming at No Name. Chance came in her defense. So there's a lot going on, but No Name is known for a lot more than that. She is an artist. She is an activist. She does do a lot in the community. So just saying that if you don't know her from that, then those things are something you might know her from. People actually attacked her for that, mainly the Beehive. Why we know how the Beehive acts. So they actually came at her for that, and several different tweets kind of as criticism of her for criticizing the Black is King. Where I stand, I don't see what she said as being a lot. I don't see it as being wrong. Like, it's just, there's nothing wrong with what she said to me. I think a lot of times we have somebody that releases a thing or a project, any type of music, movie, anything like that, and we have people that come out and say these type of things, right? There's the same thing with Bruno Mars. They came at Bruno Mars saying like, hey, this is Black culture, or hey, this is this culture, or hey, that's culture. Make sure you play dividends to them. That's basically what No Name is saying. Like, hey, I hope that while you're doing this, the same people that you're portraying in these videos are getting paid, are getting money, or are getting the type of monetary value that you are. Now, I know for me, when I was looking it up, the same thing was happening with Drake has done this before, or French Montana with the what's the song called?
Unforgettable.
Unforgettable. The video right there was in Africa, with that same type of culture, things of that nature. So she was basically just saying, like, I hope that you guys are appreciating those communities and those people too, because it's one thing to just put them on a video, but for one, they can't even never see that video because Disney Plus isn't streamed in Africa. Two, they getting the money that they deserve for being portrayed in this, which I assume that they are. I assume that they have a contract. I assume that they are receiving some type of monetary value for this type of thing. But is it the same amount as Beyonce's? Is the same amount as Disney? If that's your argument, then probably not. Right? That's probably not was the case. Right? It's just not how capitalism works. This is capitalism. Let's make no mistake about it. This is capitalism. Like, this is exactly what it is. If you are screwed by that, or you are unwilling to see that because it's Beyonce, then that's one thing. That's cool. That's you. But this is capitalism. That's how it works. Right? So me and King bring you on, or we add you into a thing, we definitely receive most of that profit because we are the ones that has actually put this on. We are the ones that actually put the risk for this. So the money that we receive from this is going to go mostly to us. It's not going to go to you. That's just kind of how it works. That's how capitalism is mostly, at least. So I can't really fault Beyonce for this, but I can't fault No Name at all for pointing out the obvious. And this is not the first time people have done it. People have pointed out this type of thing time and time again throughout the history of hip hop, at the history of any really genre, any type of music or entertainment value. So this is not new. Like, we do love the African story or the slave story or anything like that draped in capitalism. Like, we love it. So this is what we do. We go follow it. You can say the same thing about Black Panther if you really want to go that far. So this is not new. This is not a new argument. No Name might have been a little bit of attack for it, but that's because the Beehive will attack anybody in reality. Like, that's just kind of where we're at in social media. So she came out, she said what I thought that was pretty correct. I'm sure that Beyonce and her team made sure that those people were paid. And that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree more. I don't think that No Name was attacked by the Beehive just for attacking Beyonce. I think this is an example of when keeping it woke goes wrong. You know, the same thing that she criticized J. Cole for doing, she's doing now to Beyonce. Like, it's so much going on. And like I was saying before, Beyonce represents so much to the Black community where it's bigger than music. she kind of transcends race to whereas the Beehive is just encompasses so many different fan groups. And for her to do such a powerful move with Disney and not just be an actress or a voice actor on The Lion King, but actually take the story of The Lion King, bring it back to its roots and highlight African culture and, you know, send messages like Black people are beautiful and Black culture is beautiful and remember who you are and know your power. For that type of messaging and for that to go to Africa and actually display the beauty of Africa and to say that it's just an African aesthetic draped in capitalism, I think that's a little bit off base. Like, she didn't have to do this. She didn't have to use her platform to bring all this attention to the African continent, to the Black people, and saying like how beautiful we are and how powerful we are. That message in itself is needed in the culture. You can't say that you're for the upliftment of Black people and then say you're against this because what? She had jewelry on? Because what? She had nice things on? Because she's rich? Like, I don't understand what she means by this is draped in capitalism. Like, I don't. And this is another thing too. Like, I don't see, like, when we talk about capitalism, like capitalism is the only system in the world in which somebody can be born poor and then can end up rich. So all this demonization of capitalism, yes, there are some negative aspects of it, but there are some negative aspects to any other system when it comes to a ruling system in the world. So just to throw capitalism on there and then equate it with U.S. imperialism in a sense where Beyonce is trying to empower Black people and tell them how beautiful they are and, you know, remember their ancestry and remember their roots. Like, because of this, I'm looking up Afro music. I'm looking up Ghana. I want to see who I'm in tune with. And that's the power of this movement. Just to dwindle that down and say that that's an African aesthetic dripped in capitalism, that's a little bit too woke for me. And I think she missed the mark completely.
Capitalism, I feel like, yes. Imperialism is a little bit far because imperialism is like basically forcing your country onto somebody else as far as to gain a benefit of it. I don't think that's what she was doing at all. I think that she, if anything, she was trying to connect the America to Africa within that type of, because we do have some type of, how do I say this? We do have similarities in our culture, and we should, because that's in reality, that's where we come from. And I completely support the fact that she wanted to go out there and do this. I love the film. I loved everything about it. I'm just saying I'm not willing to attack No Name for what she said, because I feel like this type of criticism has been around for a long time. This type of criticism is not the first. This is not the first we heard of this. It might be the biggest star that we heard actually being criticized for it, but several times over, we've heard people being criticized for it. I told you about the Drake. I told you about the French Montana. There's several other occasions I can talk about that people are saying like, hey, stop using African culture for your gain or your benefit. There's nothing really wrong with saying that. There's really nothing wrong with that criticism. We can't get mad at criticism. That's kind of where I'll stand at it.
But what's the point? Then how can we get mad at J. Cole for criticizing her when her goal was to uplift Black people and spread messages, and then not get mad at her when she does it to Beyonce? Because we've heard it before. We've heard people say that Black people's tone or angry Black women's tone kind of defeats their messages. So we can't sit up here on one hand and criticize J. Cole for criticizing her when saying that wasn't appropriate, when Beyonce is doing this to kind of shed light and bring light to the African community and make this more of an African thing and bringing this huge Disney Plus platform to the African culture in a time where we're trying to empower Black people and show them how beautiful they are and how powerful they are. How can you criticize that and say this is draped in capitalism? I don't understand what you mean when you say this is draped in capitalism.
Because I feel like criticism is a fine line. So J. Cole was criticizing the way that she talked or the way that she actually went about something. I feel like that was a little bit foul in the way that he actually went out here. I feel like this, in the way that she's criticizing this, is a simple criticism. Are you paying the people that was in these videos? Are the people in this video being monetarily compensated for what they did? That, to me, is what I read when I read No Name's tweet. That's all I read. Now, if I'm reading it off, if I'm considering it off, that's a different subject. We can talk about that and I could debate that. To me, that's what I read when I seen it. When I listened to J. Cole album, it was, hey, as a Black woman, you shouldn't be talking like that. Don't come at me for this. Don't do that. Don't do this. That's a little bit sideways. When we'll talk about J.W. Lucas a little bit later, the way you criticize somebody is important. it is important. Like, you can't just criticize somebody by attacking them and then claiming that as criticism. That's not the same. That's not the same as criticism. So if I tell you and I say, hey, the way you talk to me is a little bit sideways to me, then maybe you might want to reconsider. To me, if you want to say it about her, then that's fine. We can talk about that. To me, when I look at her tweet, all it was saying was, hey, are the people that's actually in this video being monetarily compensated for what they're doing? There's nothing wrong with that.
But that's not what she said, though. She said, I hope we can uplift those who will never be able to access. Black liberation is a global struggle. And she said, I hope we remember the black folks on a continent whose daily lives are impacted by U.S. imperialism. If we can uplift the imagery, I hope we can uplift the. So it's saying that they're suffering because of the United States and where she's exploiting their imagery. So I don't agree with that. Like, I don't agree with the sentiment that Beyonce is going over there and exploiting them to aid and abet in a global structure to keep black people down in that country. Like, that in itself, that's a powerful statement. That's saying that Beyonce is exploiting the African continent in coercion with the U.S. empire. Like, nah, bro, that's crazy. That's a crazy thing to say about Beyonce, bro. No, like, that's a crazy thing to say. That's
the first part is facts, though. The first part is facts, though.
Because you said we love an African aesthetic draped in capitalism, but this is what I'm saying. Like, for you to put that claim on somebody who is taking the time to present a positive message about black people and uplift black people, to say that you are exploiting the imagery of the African culture while assisting in the systematic oppression of them based in the U.S. imperialism, that's way more disrespectful than saying, I don't like your tone when you say these things about what the black people should do. That's what I'm saying. Like, let's not compare what French Montana did in his Unforgettable video and say that's the same thing what Beyonce is doing with this film. Literally, the title was Black is King, and the whole film is about understanding yourself, loving yourself, knowing who you are, knowing your roots, and uplifting the black people. To say that it is in itself a part of a system that systematically oppresses black people in Africa and keeps them down, that's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. And that's if that's the claim, that is wildly disrespectful. That's wildly disrespectful because that has nothing to do with the message and the power of what she's trying to do with that project.
So I totally agree with you. I'm just saying, we can criticize No Name for her judgment of this, but can we criticize No Name for this whole thing? Because your whole thing is like she's being woke to a fault.
I'm saying that we can't defend her when J. Cole does the same thing and then like not have that same energy. I'm just being consistent. I didn't like when J. Cole did it to her. I don't like when she's doing it to Beyonce. The goal,
I just feel like they're different things, though.
They're the same thing. You respect the movement, but you're criticizing the way because you don't think that they're doing their part in the movement the way that you like it. Same thing. J. Cole didn't like her tone, but he agreed with the sentiment by saying that she's educated. She knows more than me. I think that it's just something that her tone that I think is problematic. And we didn't like that. We called that out and we said that that's not the tone that you should speak on. If anything, you should add to the conversation that she's trying to start. Same thing about No Name. She's criticizing Beyonce, saying that she's doing the same thing and dripping African aesthetic with capitalism, but understanding that the people over in Africa are suffering under U.S. imperialism. So it's like, if you don't agree with what Beyonce is doing, why don't you do it the right way? Why don't you add to that? Because the net positive of what Beyonce is doing is helping the African community. It's shining a good light on it in a space where you even brought it up when you introduced it. We all see the African story as slavery. We all see the African story as poor, as without, or going helping them out or starving. We don't see them in this light. So for her to go to Africa and show them so happy, to show the joy, to show the dancing, to show the elegance, to show the royalty over there, that's shining a good light on African culture. I don't understand if you're just saying that that's just African aesthetic draped in capitalism. You're completely missing a point of what this film or what this project is trying to do.
But what is capitalism? Like, in plain terms, what is your version of capitalism? Not the definition. I have a definition here, but what is the capitalism?
No, read the definition. Read the definition because
it doesn't necessarily fit. I'll give you that. It doesn't necessarily fit the capitalism. So capitalism. Give me 1 second.
an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state.
Doesn't necessarily fit.
I don't see why that is so evil. And that's what I'm saying. Being too woke is a problem because we look at systems in which we would what is the alternative to capitalism? Communism? What's it called? Socialism, where the state controls everything. We've seen anytime that system has been employed, it leads to the death of millions, the enslavement, the global economic depression of millions, and we've seen that collapse countries. Capitalism is the only system in the world in which, like I said, because of these private companies able to do things, they can take somebody from general poverty and brace them to be the first hip hop billionaire or something like that. So it's like to say that this system in itself is evil is a broad critique, and that in itself is an hour, 2 hour, month-long, year-long debate. So to just globally say that capitalism is evil and to say that this is what Beyonce is doing, like, come on, bro. Like, that's
which is why I consider what she said a different thing, right? Because I'm thinking of, when I think capitalism, I think I'm capitalizing off of something that you're doing. Your culture, I'm capitalizing off of it.
But so that's you changing the definition of a word, though, and we can't keep doing that.
True. No, that's fair.
That's like,
but that's how I look at capitalizing. That's what you're capitalizing off of,
right? But that's a personal bias, though. That's like me saying, or somebody saying that black people can't be racist because racism is itself is a power structure. No, racism is saying that I believe that people are inferior or less than or greater than because of their race. That is the definition of racism, right? So we can't keep taking these terms and making them fit our narrative and then criticize people and saying like, "Yo, this is evil," because no, that's a dangerous game that we're playing. That's being too woke.
So what is it when I capitalize off of somebody else's culture, though?
That's appropriation.
Okay.
That's appropriation.
Fair enough. Is this not that then?
How?
Or is I'm just asking.
But she didn't say that. She didn't say this is appropriation. She said this is African aesthetic drift with capitalism. So that's just saying like you given because capitalism would say like success. People kind of say that was success. Like we got all this jewelry, we got all this like royalty, all these things that look like capitalism or look like success, but then denying the poverty and denying the struggle that actually exists there. So I think she was trying to juxtapose, like, you're showing Africa like this without acknowledging the struggle of Africans. And we need to be mindful of the struggle there and know that the real fight is to lift those people up that are struggling in there instead of capitalizing, like you're saying, off of people and kind of showing an aesthetic in a way that's not representative of how they're actually living. But again, that's a crazy thing to say when somebody's message is black is king, black is beautiful, love yourself, know where you come from, be the king and be the queens that you truly were, know your history, know about your ancestors, know about why we're so connected with this. That is an amazing message. That is what we want. That is what we need on platforms like Disney. That is what we need. But to criticize that and say that that's not enough is like, come on, bro.
So the context is important.
Context is important.
Right. So the context and what you do is important. So she was taking this same message in moving a slavery story or something crazy that we could think about from the African culture, from what we think about is that would be wrong.
But this had nothing to do with slavery. Like,
right. I'm just saying in general, like, context is important. This is how important context is.
Well, I just think that we have to understand what we're actually fighting for. Mm. We got to understand what we're fighting for. Are we fighting for the dismantlement of America, or are we fighting for the betterment of our people? Because we're starting to see those two agendas aren't the same. And I'm not 100%. For just 100%. Calling America evil because of the evil in its past. I'm not with overthrowing the government and just tearing down every institution because of the systematic oppression of my ancestors. I'm not with that. So it's 100%. Like you're starting to see this movement go a little bit this way. And that's when we talk about these different protests in different cities and how they're interacting with cops and these different protesters getting shot versus the federal agents. We're starting to see this movement kind of split off in different directions, and we're starting to see the extremes poke their head. So it's very key that we key in on what is important, what are we trying to do, and calling people out that are trying to spread a positive message about loving yourself, empowering yourself, and knowing where you come from. I don't agree with that. I'm not saying that she is above a critique, above reproach, but I don't agree with the beauty and the messaging that came from that. If all you see is African aesthetics and draped in capitalism, that is your bias. That's what you see because you're so clouded into your social justice movement.
Fair enough. So let's move on because this whole episode is basically going to be about this. So let's move on to the next topic then. So do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah. So there is. Let me pull it up real quick.
Yeah. Do you think? Because I feel like this is going to slide right into where we need to be.
So there is a producer by the name of J.W. Lucas, and he basically tweeted out an opposition of all of the support around Breonna Taylor. And we kind of walked into this conversation a little bit last week, but we're starting to see with the return of the NBA and we're starting to see the return of these big movements coming back, a big message is justice for Breonna Taylor. That is the growing narrative because with the George Floyd case, the ball's kind of in motion. And with the Rashard Brooks and the Elijah McClain's, those are kind of ongoing too, but the big one in which nothing has happened for is the Breonna Taylor case. So the producer, J.W. Lucas, you may know his work. He produced Jack Harlow's Was Poppin'. He produced Lil Uzi Vert's All My Friends Are Dead or EXO Tour Life. But he tweeted out, and he's a white producer. He said that, why is the world asking for justice for Breonna Taylor? Of course, she shouldn't have lost her life, but do you realize she was involved with multiple drug dealers who were using her house as a trap spot? If you sign up for that life, there are consequences. That's a very, very bold statement, very, very powerful words, very inflammatory words. And Tamika Mallory, who we've spoken about many a times on this podcast, basically called him out and went face to face with him on Instagram Live saying that, these words that you're saying are racist. They are inflammatory. They are so problematic that I'm going to make sure that anybody that chooses to work for you is going to have to deal with me, knowing that this is the rhetoric that you're speaking on when we're just trying to come together and get justice for a black woman who was slain at the hands of the police. And his rebuttal was, I'm more qualified than you and I can say these things and your rhetoric is problematic. And I think this kind of opens the gates for a debate that a lot of people are having. And again, like I was saying last week, it's a lot of us in our community. We see one side of the story, but when we talk about today's age, we have to understand both sides of the story. And unless we can have that open dialogue, it will lead to interactions like this. So I'll open the floor to you, bro. Like, what do you think about the whole situation?
I don't necessarily, I don't want to attack him for what he said because criticism isn't bad. But he did go on to talk about misinformation, which I feel like this is. So he was talking about how Breonna Taylor's house was a trap house, known as a trap house, and that's why the police got the warrant to actually execute and enter her house, which is pretty false if you really look at it. So the situation is that Breonna Taylor was with a man that was actually in custody at the time of her death, but she was with a man that actually ended up being her ex, and they said that she was receiving packages for that man and another associate of his. So she was receiving packages for that man and another associate of his of drugs, anything, narcotics, anything you can think about, which is fine. Now, if you look at the no-knock warrant, that's where I actually kind of take issue to. And this is big. This is beside the point of what he said, but this is why it's misinformation. Judges actually came out since then and said hey, this shouldn't have been a no-knock warrant because if that's a no-knock warrant, then all warrants should be no-knock warrants. Because what they're saying is people have cameras and they have ways of getting drugs out the building. They have ways of making sure that they don't have to open the door. And so we shouldn't have to knock and make sure that they come to the door. We should just be able to come in through the entry. We should just be able to knock the door down and come in. Judges have came out and said that, hey, that's not warrant for a no-knock warrant. You should be able to know whether or not these people have the means to get rid of drugs at any point of the day, at any time of the year, any time of the month, to actually get rid of the drugs in order to come open the door and let you actually enter and search it. There was no evidence of Breonna Taylor being able to do that. There was no evidence of them being able to get rid of drugs, get rid of evidence before they can actually enter the door and actually search their residence. So judges have came out and said, hey, this is not a eligible thing for a no-knock warrant. So to me, that's saying you telling people on the internet saying that this is a trap house is false. That's misinformation. So for you to come out and say I'm here fighting against misinformation because this isn't right, to me that's ass backwards. That's not true. That's just not the case. So for him to come out and say that is one thing. Two, for you to come out and say that, hey, you shouldn't be an activist because I'm more, and maybe that's not exactly his word, but because I'm more capable than you. I don't really see how, right? Because I looked up J.W. Lucas. I've seen as much as I can see about J.W. Lucas. He says that he fights for black people every day of his life. That's what he said several times. He said that I fight for black people every day of my life. All I'm saying is maybe that is true, but I can't find it. I can't see anything online that says you do that. That's just me. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be activists. I am saying that to be activists, that you should be recognized by the rest of the community. That's all I'm saying. To be activist, you should be recognized. You can't just, I could come out and say I'm an activist because I come and speak for the black community every time I come on the podcast. Does that really make me activist? I don't know. That's for y'all to decide. To me, that's not for me to decide. I can't just come out here and say that I'm more capable than one of the most prominent activists because of what? Because I just say so? To me, that's disrespectful. That's when he started getting disrespectful. He started saying that he wouldn't accept that. He wouldn't agree to that, which I don't think he should. He shouldn't agree that he's a racist. He shouldn't agree to that. But if you're going to say that you're more capable than somebody that we already recognize, then you should have some type of something. You should have some type of information to back that up. That's my real criticism of him. Like, you can't just come out and say, I can't just come out and say like, hey, I'm smarter than you. Well, how come? Because I said so. That doesn't really make sense to me. And that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I disagree with everything he said, especially to Tamika Mallory. I think that she's been well documented being on the front line when it comes to black issues or issues in the black community for years. So whether you agree or disagree with what direction she's headed in, it is apparent by her deeds and by her track record that she is for the betterment of the black community. And she is trying her best with every fiber of her being to be that change in the black community for the better. So I think that when we have individuals like that in the community, they should be protected. I think that they should be kind of off limits to criticism like this. But I respect her for not just criticizing this man, but going on and speaking to him directly. Although it did end explosively, she had the courage to say like, yo, from now on, anybody that you deal with going to have to deal with me. And I think that's the type of energy you should have. So respect to her for that. I do think, though, so I just want to make that very clear. I am strictly opposed to what J.W. Lucas said in his whole position. I do think this opens the door to kind of expand the conversation because there was a lot of misinformation about the Breonna Taylor case. And I think that it is important for us to kind of clarify that, to make sure that we are well informed about the Breonna Taylor case, so that we're not just vaguely saying we want justice. And like I said last week, we want to know exactly what do we want justice for. Like a lot of the initial report saying that they didn't have a warrant at all, or that they already had the person in custody, so they should never have executed that warrant. That itself is, that's not the narrative anymore. More information has come out since then, and it's important for us to know that they really did have a warrant. Whether, again, I don't agree of the no-knock warrant. I believe you just explained why they shouldn't have the no-knock warrant, but they had a no-knock warrant, and I think there was some negligence in issuing that, and I think those people should be held accountable, which I was trying to say last week. So I think anybody involved with getting that warrant, signing that warrant, issuing that warrant, they should be held accountable as to why they did that. Because I think in Kentucky, they banned no-knock warrants since then. So that should just let you know the type of energy that they on right now. There was a warrant for her because she was a suspected accessory to a drug dealer, because they suspected that she was getting packages from her ex-boyfriend and an associate who were known drug dealers. Again, I don't think that because of that she should have been shot by any means. I think that the way the officers conducted themselves, should be under scrutiny. But the whole situation was bad. And I think, unfortunately, until we start to look at the laws and we start to look at how we implement or how the government implements these laws is going to be imperative for us to do that, for vote for those people that are willing to make those changes to avoid this situation from happening again. But I don't think, kind of like you were saying earlier, I don't think we should just pass off all criticism as racism, as bigotry, as just negligence, because I think that there is some we only grow through opposition. Like, I have my way of thinking, you have your way of thinking, and we have to let our ideas clash until we see what is the best of the two. And sometimes some of what you're saying is right, some of what I'm saying is right, sometimes nothing of what I'm saying is right, and you have everything correct. But we have to let those ideas clash so that everybody can move forward with the best possible solution. So I don't think that we should cancel everybody that disagrees, but once it reaches a certain point, you know what I mean? Once you start calling out a person who is vehemently argued and vehemently fought and vehemently stood on these front lines, been arrested behind this to try to better the black community, that's just out of line, bro.
Right. And so that's where I'm at with it. So do we cancel everybody that disagree? I don't think so. Do we check people that's disrespecting? No, absolutely. To me, he was disrespecting at this point. He went past the point of, hey, I'm just voicing my opinion to bring up different thoughts, to now I'm disrespecting. When he got on with Tamika Mallory, I don't know what happened at the beginning of it, but I can tell you what I listened to from the clips of it. So I'm admitting that I didn't watch the whole thing. I've only seen clips of it. But from the clips of it, I can see that she was talking, he was talking. Eventually, he got to the point where she was voicing her disgust or disagreement with what he was saying. And then he responded with, hey, you shouldn't even be here because I'll be more capable. That to me is when that's to me when it went kind of south. Because after that, everything after that kind of went kind of back and forth, me and you type of deal. So he eventually came out and apologized for this. He eventually came out and said, and I'll put that on the screen. He eventually came out and said that I apologize for the comments I made and things of that nature. I'm okay with that, but at what point do we accept those type of apologies? Because at this point, you've already disrespected. So this is our community. You profiting off of our community. I don't think that's the only community that you're profiting off of, because we only know 4 or 5 songs that you've actually made. I have no idea who J.W. Lucas is. Do you? Did you before this?
I didn't know his name, but I know his work. Yeah, I know his work.
Right, you know his work. When you hear what he did, you knew his work. I had no idea that he actually did those type of records, but I had no idea who this man was. So from my first interest into who he was, it's not a good look. That's my first interest of it. Should I now accept his apology and then let him continue to work within our community, or should I cancel him? I guess is what Tamika Mallory is saying.
Well, I don't think that's up to us. Like, I don't.
Right, but I'm just saying from logical thinking, critical thinking. I know you're a critical thinker. Like, what do you think?
No, I that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's up to us to determine what his future is. Like, I accept apologies, but that's that you show me who you are. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to hold a grudge against you forever because I make mistakes. I say stuff out of ignorance, and once I get checked, then it's like, all right, bet, you know what? That way of thinking is problematic. So I'm not above forgiving anybody. But again, that's not up to me. I'm not buying any beats from him, and I'm not going to be mad at anybody else that buys beats from him. The goal is black empowerment. The goal is justice for Breonna Taylor. The goal is not about canceling him. The whole issue is about Breonna Taylor. So I don't really care about what that man does. And for us to be like, oh, it's our responsibility to make sure that he doesn't make another dollar. Like, nah, that's not what's important. That's not what I'm investing my life into. That's not what this moment is about. It's not about that man. It's about Breonna Taylor. So if he apologized, okay, I don't have the time or day. I don't have the energy to follow up with him to say, I believe that that's sincere. That's not. My goal is to use this moment to highlight the facts about Breonna Taylor's case, because that's what this whole thing was about. Hopefully capitalizing on the moment that he created in his ignorance, showing that he apologized and admit that he was wrong. Okay, boom. Now y'all paying attention to this controversy. Let's talk about Breonna Taylor again, because that's what really needs to be talked about. And 100%. For him to, I don't really care what happens to him. I didn't care what happened to him before this. I don't really care what happens to him after this.
No idea who he is.
The goal is Breonna Taylor, and that's what we should be talking about.
No idea. But what I can say is, again, I don't really agree with canceling. Right. I just don't agree. I agree with educating. So just like I'm gonna try to keep the same energy I had with Nick Cannon. So I don't agree with canceling. I agree with educating. So yes, we should try to talk to him, and it may have seemed like he did. He did the 24-hour apology, which I don't like. But with even before that, he did go into the hey, I'm more capable than you, and hey, I have given more to hip hop than anybody in it right now. I'm like, bro, we don't know who you are. That's my thing. You say,
wait a minute, who are you?
Yeah,
who is this nigga?
Like I was saying, like, who the fuck are you, bro? You've given more to
this guy.
You giving more to hip hop than anybody in it. This is words out of his own mouth.
Yeah, but then like you know that's
like
ridiculous.
That.
Yeah, you know that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
so
ridiculous.
You don't give it no energy. It's like Nip said, bro. Put him on Goofy time and let it self-destruct, bro.
But what is Goofy time though? That's like I love it. But what is Goofy time?
Don't give him any attention. I don't care about him. You show me who you are. I have my impression. I have my example. I've seen it play out. All right. I don't care about you. What I do care about is Breonna Taylor. And straight up, it's not up to me to decide what happens to that man. It's not up to me to follow up and be mad at him to say, I hope nobody works with him. Nah, that's not my job. My job is to call the hotlines that are out there, call the mayor's office, call the police chief, call everybody involved in this Breonna Taylor case and demand answers and demand accountability. You know, there are emails going around, there are messages going around, there are numbers going around that I could spend my time to try to make sure that something happens. I don't care what happens to that man. You know what I mean? The world or nature or the universe or God, whatever you believe, that's going to handle that, bro. I have nothing to do with that, man. I seen who you are. You showed me who you are. You gave me an apology. I accepted at face value. I want Breonna Taylor, bro. You want to tell me that you do more for the black community? I'll see you when we march. I'll see you when we go and get justice for Breonna Taylor.
That's my thing.
Until then,
that's my only thing, bro.
Hey.
I tried. I hit you up. I told you. I said I'm gonna look up because surely if he works for black people his whole entire life, then I will be able to find something. I wasn't able to find anything.
Yeah.
That's where we at. So whether any artist, and I doubt any big artists decide to listen to this, but whether any artist decide to listen to him or to take his beats or buy his beats or anything like that, I just hope that's something that they think about. That's all I'm saying. Because we can't continue to buy from people that don't support us. That's my thing.
Right, but then again, that's the individual's decision, and that's why I asked you in the beginning, like, did you care about that with Nicki Minaj? And it kind of brought for a circle. It's your job as an artist, as A$AP Ferg. Do you want to work with somebody that worked with this person? That's that individual. I have no control over that. You know what I mean? As a consumer, I could choose whether to listen to it or to not listen to it. That's the only power I have. Same thing. If an artist is going to work with them, I have the choice to decide if I'm going to listen to it or not. But again, that's capitalism. That we have the individual freedom to do what we want as private citizens without the control of anything else. It's a beautiful thing when applied properly.
Same as social media, though.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. You can use it to destroy yourself. You can use it to uplift and empower your community. I'm not going to destroy it because I've seen people misuse it.
Yeah, because when I seen that baby thrown up halfway into the air, dog, that was amazing application of social media, bro. I don't know how I seen that or where that baby was, but I love watching that baby though.
Legend is that baby is still. Legend is that baby is still in the air to this day. Boy, that baby was high, boy.
Oh man. All right, man. Shit, let's get to it, bro. Let's get to our positivity shout out there.
You want to go first, or because mine is kind
I got it.
A big blanket.
Yeah, I'll give you a blanket statement like earlier. My positive shout outs to the NBA. And the reason why is because I knew that they were going to be doing a couple things, right? I knew they was going to have the Black Lives Matter on the court. I knew they were going to have people that had statements on their jersey. I knew they was going to have people that had things on their shoes. The reason why I really want to have and give my positive shout out to the NBA is because I can't listen to a broadcast without hearing something. So I can't listen to a broadcast without hearing Brown Taylor name. I can't listen to a broadcast without hearing an NBA player is doing this in their community. Several times when I watch the Rockets versus I can't think of the team right now they were versing by. When I was watching the Rockets versus I think it was Magic or not Magic, but Luka Doncic. So I can't remember who exactly they were placing. But when I was watching that broadcast, I heard several times about how Russell Westbrook was actually in California fighting against injustice. I heard several times about how James Harden was actually fighting against injustice. They're actually pointing out to the audience about who is actually doing something, who is actually making a movement, who is actually making a stand, who is saying something. So I can appreciate that. It might not be perfect to everybody that listen to it, and some people that listen to it may not agree with it, but for an NBA organization, the biggest organization that you can think of, with the most black people that you can think of, to say, hey, this matters to them. It should matter to us. Let's make sure that it's a front stage on everything that we do from here on out. That's a big deal to me. When I see it, I can't ignore it. I can't. It's not just on the stage. It's not just on the floor. It's not just on the team jersey. It's not just on the shoes. It's in the announcements. Everybody that's talking on the actual TV screen is talking about Black Lives Matter and things that matter to black people. That's a big deal to me. So NBA, I appreciate y'all. Y'all give my positivity shout out. Much love.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that too, so I kind of gotta freestyle this one. But
why don't you just tell me just say what you like, say what you loved about it.
Well, on that, I just wanted to give it the positivity shout out to those that chose to participate and those who didn't. You know what I mean? I think it's a very nuanced issue. I think that it's dope to see this conversation come to the forefront. I think that before every game, them televising it and them sending a message with the commentators speaking on and highlighting the subtle things that the athletes do, such as writing justice for Breonna Taylor on their shoes or stuff like that and giving the backstory of it. I think that that's powerful. It's beautiful. And we kind of talked about it last week with it returning. That's the big influence. That's the big thing. We were arguing, is it going to take away from the moment or is it going to add to the moment? And it's just showing that the NBA has made a conscious effort to add to the moment. You know what I mean? Whether you agree with it or disagree with it. I don't think that athletes who don't choose to take a knee or don't choose to wear the Black Lives Matter should be at fault for it because they have their own way of supporting the movement. They have their own way of bringing change into this world. So I highlight that as well. But equally, I want to highlight is the NHL, so the National Hockey League. So they're not known for being dominated by the black community. I don't even know if there is a black person. I'm sure there is, but I'm not aware of the black people that play in NHL. But they just resumed their playoffs as well. And before the first puck drive, they darkened out the arena. They had Black Lives Matter, and then the captains of the team actually said, like, yo, we stand against racism. Like, this is a moment in time, and we want to be on the right side of history, or we want to acknowledge that Black lives do matter. We want to make sure that we understand that racism is a man-made creation, and that's something that we're going to fight against. And we are taking the opportunity because everybody, if you're not a fan of the NBA, you're going to go to the MLB. And what do you see as soon as you turn on the baseball? You see a big Black Lives Matter on a pitcher's mound. You can't run away from it. You're going to see it. All right. If you don't want to see baseball, you're going to turn on the hockey. And as soon as hockey comes back, what do we see? Black Lives Matter. So ultimately, and we saw this in NASCAR, we see this in all big sports, the moment is bigger than just a certain demographic. The moment is bigger than just one organization. The moment is bigger than just one team or one player or one superstar. This is a national issue, and I respect and I highlight and I applaud all of these different sports agencies who know that fans are just waiting to take their mind off of something, but not letting go of the moment to remind them, hey, this is still going on. This is something that we have a dog in that fight, and we stand on this side. So I appreciate them for, putting their business on the line, putting their reputation on the line, and showing that they care that Black Lives Matter.
So 100%. So we appreciate y'all tuning in to Who Am I Podcast. If y'all want to go ahead and be on the podcast. Let us know in any type of comments on any of our social media accounts. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook at the Who My Podcast. So go ahead and let us know. We are very active on our social media accounts. If you're on YouTube watching this right now, go ahead and hit a comment right now. I will reply to it. Let us know. Let us know what you want. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know if you have any disagreements with it. We are okay with having anybody on the podcast. This is Zoom. So if you want to get a Zoom account, come on here. Let us know. We'll get you on here. If you want to have just audio, we can do that too. Just let us know. We all about it. We want more people to actually come in, comment, talk to us, and tell us what they disagree with, what they agree with, and we'll go ahead and debate it here on there. If you want the skibbity paps, you want the vocal skibbity paps, let us know, man. Let us know. We appreciate y'all tuning in.
And for those who do support us, if you want to go ahead and support us on Anchor, we would appreciate it. Just know that all money and proceeds will be donated to me and Kevo taking some speech classes so that we can learn to pronounce simple words, so that we can put full sentences together without stuttering or saying something crazy. And we can pronounce.
Seriously.
So, consider making a donation so that we can better articulate ourselves. We would appreciate it.
But then again, who am I? And who are you?
I barely graduated high school. I know that much because you can tell by the way I got words written out, and I'm like,
I got a whole thing of notes right here, and I'll be like, why the fuck I typed that? Goddamn perpetuitous.
That's my word right there. I haven't stopped saying that since you said it.
Don't worry, I'll come with a new one next week. Don't worry.
We okay. We'll need that.
No.
What they say, quit while you're ahead.
No.
All right, bro.
All right, I'll let you, bro.
All right.
Oh my, the girls them sugar.